Okay, so this is a tutorial video of how I do rendering in general. So one thing you need to remember when it comes to coloring, first of all, the subject, the character, let's say, or the object of within that environment, within that blue environment, is also going to get influenced by blue. So let's say it's a blue background and a white ball. If a white ball is placed underneath the blue background, let's say it's the table's yellow. The problem is this is not going to work necessarily because it's a blue environment and white is a color that absorbs light very well. So this wouldn't necessarily make sense unless this is sort of like the opacity is lowered. And now you can see it's still white and yellow. It's kind of like mixing colors if you tried painting. And same case for the yellow. This color plus this color, and you mix it around, equals this color. And even though underneath right now this looks like that and this looks like that, it makes sense under lighting like this. And the background's basically influencing all these objects and for their color to change. This was originally white, but now it's that color. And this was originally this yellow, and now it's that color. So you get the point. And the easiest method to do this, to get the colors right like this, is playing around with the opacity to see how much the colors get influenced. You can do extra by adding a shadow. Now what's interesting here is the shadow color, orange is going to influence the shade, and the shade is going to be like that. It's going to be reflection, and because there's going to be a reflection off the ground, which is yellow, there's going to be yellow here. Let's make it more saturated. It's going to be yellow here because it's reflecting off the table. Maybe you can add like a highlight if the light's really bright, like a highlight. If you think you went overboard with the orange shade, you can always go back with the white and do that. Voila. Now it's a white ball being influenced by the orange background with the yellow underneath. And here's the ambient occlusion. What ambient occlusion is when two objects are in very close proximity together and it creates this sort of shade. Sorry if I spelled it wrong. And ambient occlusion is very important when it comes to shading. But this can work too if the environment isn't that powerful in terms of color. Let's say the environment color is, if it's like that, then of course these colors aren't going to be so influenced by the background, so it's going to be like this color. Yeah, so you get what I mean, right? And keeping these in mind, that environment impacts the object or the subject, I'm going to add the same orange I used for the background, and I'm just going to lightly change the opacity here. You can see this layer is of orange on top of it. I combine that with the one on bottom so it's all in one piece. After I do that, I start rendering, since it's like gonna be a sunset scenario, I'm gonna make it blue, like an opposite color. So one method my friend taught me is there's a fast way of shading, and it's by doing multiply, and after doing that you can erase some of the color away in sections where the light hits generally. So I picked an invisible color tool here. I'm just going to erase, or I could just pick an eraser tool, erase the areas where the sun hits or where the light hits. This tip of her nose is going to be more round than this section, so this is going to be a hard edge. This section is going to be a softer edge. So just blend that section and voila! Beautiful. Now flip the canvas, see if it's okay, and if it's not, then just sketch away bits and bits, adjust it, make adjustments. This is also going to be a soft edge. Get the blend tool and just start blending these areas. It doesn't have to be that clean, it can be pretty rough, especially if it's rough then it looks more painterly. Erase a little bit of this section as well. Create a new empty layer, turn that mode into maybe shade or multiply, and now I'm going to pick like a softer tool, like a brush tool, to just shade in, roughly shade in areas, or I can just go heavy duty immediately. Like this section is going to be shaded heavily, maybe this section is going to be shaded a bit more, maybe this section, the hair covering, doing all these coverings and all that. This section is also going to be shaded just a little bit. Okay, this section is going to be shaded heavily. Ambient occlusion here, ambient occlusion there. The ears, there's not much focus going on in the ears, so I'm just going to keep it very rough. It's also important to keep things rough in sections where you don't need to put too much focus on. That's I learned that the hard way. Detail does not always mean good, unfortunately. Ambient occlusion here because two objects are very close in close proximity, and there's going to be shade going on here because these two are close, and this is a round, collarbone is round, so the shadow is going to follow its shape. It's going to be round instead of completely being flat like that. No, got to be round. Ambient occlusion here with the tendons here and just slightly over here, and this necklace is like that, ambient occlusion there, and I'm just gonna shade just slightly at the bottom of the face because the face is round, and I'm just gonna keep it round. It's like, think of it as a circle, you know, if it's a circle and this section's bright, then surely this section's gonna be dark. So it's similar case to the face, this section's gonna be darker, and whereas this section hits all the light and all that, so it's like darker. Yeah, makes sense. Hope you understood. Since the ambient color of this is blue, that means part of the background must have this sort of a bluish hue going on, the more down it goes. So I'm just gonna do that quickly. Slightly like that. So this is how the sky is gonna be. Now it makes sense. Now this purplish color makes sense. Because this section is shaded pretty heavily. Oh, wait. Before I do that, I need to figure out my second light source. So the second lighting, I want it to be sort of like this. Maybe red. So the second lighting is coming from the other side. This is where the lighting is gonna be. The lighting's coming to this direction. This section's gonna be a bit more muted down, so I'm erasing that part a little bit, only adding a little slightly over here and more on this side. One thing I'm going to do is now, I'm going to erase away the bits where any area that requires reflection. So remember the ball I did earlier? There's also the fact that this ball is on top of a yellow table. So the yellow is going to highlight this section. This section is going to be filled with yellow. So that means the darkest part of the ball is going to be not this section, but this section, just above where the yellow hits. And keeping this in mind, I'm going to keep some of the sections that might reflect off of anything that's at the bottom. I know there's no table at the bottom, but I'm gonna, for example, keep this section light. And this section is gonna be darkest, and I'm gonna keep that area and leave it as space for another area to do. The reason why I'm shading this side of the finger is because still the light source is from the top as the main light source. So that means this section is gonna be the brightest. And that is equivalent to these parts of the finger. They're gonna be the brightest. But this section is obviously gonna be darker because it's facing away from the light. This section is gonna be like medium dark, but that section is gonna be completely dark. So because that section is equivalent to this part of the finger, because this finger is curved, it's like a box. As you can see here, it's shaped like a box, and this section is gonna be darkest. So there's that. A key point when it comes to drawing, you always have to start big to small instead of small to big. And the reason being, if you start from all the details, let me show you one of the drawings I failed to do. I started this drawing by zooming in, doing all these details first, and then going outside to see the bigger picture. And that usually does not work because one, it's a waste of time. Because I was so focused on the details, I missed the opportunity to see the bigger picture. Nothing over here. Everything is focused on just this section of the face where there's all the details over here. And this drawing sucks, to be honest. I like it, but it sucks. Because to avoid that, you need to start bigger. Look at the overall drawing. Is it balanced? Is it shaded equally enough? Where's the main focus? Do you have everything nailed down enough? And then you start going into the details. Once you're satisfied with that, that's when you start going into the details. Now, when it comes to rendering, you have to remember that there's this thing called a hard edge and a soft edge. Now, hard edge is basically, so let's say you draw like a shade, you blend only one side. Now, this section is a hard edge. It's not blended. This section is a soft edge. So this side is hard edge, this side is soft edge. When it comes to drawing, you should never blend both sides and turn it into a soft soft edge. I've made that mistake a lot in the past, and I'll show you an example. The shades here in these areas, there's clearly a shade going on over here, but the problem with this is that I've done that, and I've blended the entire thing. And his nose looks like it's just a blob of shade going on. It doesn't seem to give any structure. It makes his nose look like sort of a round shape instead of an angular nose with a hard edge and a soft edge. So instead of shading it, instead of blending all parts of the shade, what you gotta do is decide what the hard edge part is of the drawing, and what the soft edge part of the shade is. And there's always a soft edge on one side and hard edge on the other side. You only carve one side and blend the other side. This area is gonna be a little soft, and this area is to give structure because it's a nose shape. This area is gonna be a hard edge. This section too, there's this crease going on when, the problem with this is that, okay, I have the shade, but I've blended everything like that. Where's the structure? It looks muddy, it looks messy, and instead of doing that, what you can do, remember the hard edge and soft edge, do that. This section is a flat surface, so it's gonna capture more light than compared to this surface. And this is gonna be the side with the soft and the soft edge, and that section is gonna be the hard edge, and this is where you add the highlight. This is a section where you add highlight. So let me give you a tip when it comes to rendering. If there's a round object and light is hitting to this side and this side's the brightest, then around the ball it's gonna be all shaded and it's gonna be blending inward. Same case for a cylinder. There's a cylinder like this, and light is hitting not completely at the top, but sort of in the middle part. So this is where the light hits. Then you gotta draw the cylinder in a fashion where this area is dark, the top area is going to be a little darker too, slightly. And voila, that's how you do a cylinder. Similar case for the lips. It's going to be a hard edge and a soft edge. Now this part's a little bit difficult, but the lips is a little bit round. Think of a cylinder that I did. So the light's hitting to this side, then it's going to be shaded at the bottom, a little at the top. So shade the bottom and a little at the top. Now the lips look like it's round. Let me just give it more structure by turning this section around too. And I want to blend this side to give structure, because this, and keep this as a hard surface, and this is a soft surface, like that, instead of blending everything like that and make it look less pouty. And same, yeah, and top lips too. Blend the bottom and only one side of the lip, like that. Just blend only one side of the shading. And the closer it is to the corner, it's going to be less blended out. And there's going to be ambient occlusion, remember? Close proximity, when objects are closer together, there's going to be more shade captured within. And voila. Yeah. And you also need to know to when you gotta blend in order to, if you want to make the lips thick, you can go like that and add highlight on top, but that's for another case. Since this is pouty like that, this is gonna be the area that's shaded, and that's gonna be the area that captures light. So this is gonna be highlighted. Only blend just a little bit. Don't blend everything entirely. There's also a soft edge and a hard edge when in highlight as well. So yeah, I'm gonna make the top part a soft edge, and so that it gives structure to the lips like that. There we go. This is also the nose, and this section also, since remember the cylinder, light's hitting that way. Unless the light is hitting completely this side, then there's gonna be no shading in this section. But I want the light to hit somewhere over here, and that means this one's gonna have a hard edge and a soft edge as well. So like that. You don't blend both together and do that. Where's the nose? It's gone. You only blend one side. Leave the other alone to give structure. Yeah? You can blend in areas that's not too angular. You can sort of blend the entire thing if you want, but there's this level of how much you gotta blend that just controls everything for it. So I'm blending more of the side part than this of the right side of the nose than the left side of the nose, because if I blend the left side of the nose, it's gonna make his nose seem more round, and I want to keep that angular, so I'm not gonna blend that side too much, only a little bit, but not too much. I want to make his bottom nose like that, angular too, so just do that and blend slightly. And his nose is round. The tip of the nose is gonna be slightly blended. It's the round nose. Side of his nose, maybe not too much, unless, so this is how I draw noses in general. I don't do the nostril area part, but if you're gonna do a nostril, then this side of this nostril is gonna be blended, just one side. Hard edge. So hard edge over here, soft edge over here. And next to the hard edge is usually where the highlight goes. This is also where the hard edge is. It's where the highlight usually goes. Remember the cylinder? This is a cylinder. It's cylinder shaped like that. This is where the highlight goes. This is where the shading goes. This is also some sort of like a cylinder structure. This is where this is where the highlight goes. This is where the shadows go. So keeping that in mind, I only blend the top side of the cylinder and keeping the bottom part a hard edge. Now add the highlight on the top middle part of the cylinder. There we go. Something like that, if that makes sense. I should have used a different highlight color, but you know, I already used it, so whatever. This is also a cylinder, and there we go. Let me just shade these areas. I'll show you where to blend in terms of hard edge. and soft edge. This is a soft edge, it's a circle. It's gonna be blended like that, this section. Soft edge, another soft edge on this side. If this is a cylinder, you only blend this side. It's only blend the top. You can blend the bottom slightly, but not as much as you're gonna blend the top to make it look natural. If this is hard edge, then the highlight's gonna be right next to the soft edge. I mean the hard edge. There's gonna be a soft edge here. Really depends on how you want to structure the face as. Soft edge here, a soft edge here, and I'm not gonna blend this area too much. This is gonna be a hard edge, so just a little bit, only a little bit, and this side's gonna be blended out most. This is soft edge on this side only, instead of blending too much of the other side. Now, same for the muscles. This is a cylinder. This is a cylinder, so both sides are gonna get shaded. I mean, are gonna have like a soft edge. This section's gonna be the hard edge. So, soft edge here, soft edge here. Blend like that. Light's hitting like that. It seems like there's gonna be shadow on this section. It's gonna be less shadow over here, so I'm just gonna erase that section and more shadow to that side. Okay, and this is gonna be the hard edge. You know, you keep the other side intact. And if it seems like you've lost structure, you can go back with the highlights, slightly go over the edge of the hard edge and blend it out just slightly, or to the point where it's not as visible in terms of. There we go. It's also gotta do the collarbone. Blend one side like that. Blend the other side. Blend bottom. That means this is usually where the highlights go. Where the highlights go. So where the highlights go. It's like where the highlights go. This is where it goes. Where it captures most light, and just blend it out. And that's where the highlight goes slightly. And it's just because this is the top part of the cylinder. You can go pretty rough with the highlights. It doesn't have to be completely neat. In fact, if you give for a rougher feel, then it gives more texture to the, it's also hard edge, more textured feel to the overall drawing. This is also a circle, so this section's gonna get hard soft edge. Keep the other side a hard edge, and this is like a circular triangle shape, so it's gonna get highlight here, shade here around here, and you blend that side like this. So you just blend the top part of this muscle. That means this section's gonna get more highlight, and this section's gonna get highlight too. And I'm just gonna give more structure to the collarbone. It's not entirely gonna be muscle. And blend that out. Blend one side out. You can actually use your outline as shade color. You know, if it works, it works. You can just blend your outline on one side and keep the other side non-blended. That's how you do the soft edge and a hard edge rendering. Now, keeping this in mind, let's try rendering the my painting. Okay, so this is just me talking in the background now, and as you can see, I'm emphasizing where the ambient occlusion is, and just shading deeply into areas where there are two objects in close proximity, and just adding like a deep dark shade inside. And then I'm just gonna emphasize more on the highlight and sections where light hits hardest, and also emphasizing the fact that there are going to be reflections underneath. It's called bounce light, when light bounces down and then on an object, and then the object reflects light at the bottom section. So there's that, and I'm smoothing out in areas, soft edges in areas where it's going to be not that hard in terms of how light is distributed. And there's some doing the necklace with the hard edge, and the hair. The hair is quite complex. It's you gotta use you gotta think in layers when it comes to hair. the more back it is, the more darker it's gonna be and stuff. Of course, this really depends, but that's how it is. And I'm just gonna highlight in areas where light hits most from the background, because the light is coming from the back side, the side back of the character. And you can see I can add red reflection. It's bouncing from the bottom, and it's hitting the fingers and the side of his face, her face. And then you can see now I am doing a secondary lighting for this, and because the secondary lighting is coming from the bottom right, it's gonna be shading at the bottom left side of the chains and all, and sunglasses. I'm adding highlight to the sunglasses and the eyes, just to add a little bit of pizzazz, and that's it. That's generally how you do rendering. And I mean, I hope you learned something off of this. And if you didn't, I mean, I'm definitely gonna make a better video in the future with better editing and maybe some hilarious lines. And also, I'm definitely gonna improve a lot in the future. And I might do a video of me criticizing. I might do a video of future me criticizing this video. Who knows? But thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy exploring. Have fun drawing, buddies. Bye.